What is up, Packers fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Draft, brought to you by the good folks at Badger State Brewing, just minutes away from beautiful Lambeau Field. I am your host and the publisher of Packer Report, Ross Uggleman. Today, we are discussing Missouri linebacker Tyron Hopper and a look forward. That's kind of what we're doing here, to do things a little bit different than Andy's deep dives. We're going shorter, and we're really focusing on the future and what these guys could be, how Green Bay might use them. And I think that kind of has to be the selling point for Tyron Hopper. We've talked about this in the past. This is my least favorite pick in the draft, and I didn't make any bones about that. It's hard when you do what I do and put your rankings out there publicly, because like I've got Vikings fans buddies that aren't very bright that, I bet you love him now. Guys, I ranked him outside my top 200 and they took him at 91. Be pretty full of crap if I pretended that I loved the pick. As I mentioned, the 3 games that I watched to rank him where I ranked him were from the 2023 season, and he was much better in 2022. And I would have probably bumped him up a round or two. I think he would have finished between 140 and 170 for me if I had gotten to 10 games on him or something like that. I think there's some stuff to like, and that's what we'll talk about today. There's also some stuff not to like. And I think and there's some weird fit stuff too. Moving forward, just kind of this a strange pick. Like this was a little bit, like whatever you want the DeGuara pick, the Jay Sternberger pick, although the Jace thing kind of made more sense at the time. This was just kind of a what type deal. And the positive thing, at least for what we know, which is very little, is it was the only one. They had 4. I guess some people felt that way about the Jordan Morgan pick, but I think those people are silly. Green Bay made 5 top 91 picks, and I didn't really what about any of them except this one. So that's good, right? That's good. Athletically, Hopper, is sort of today's linebacker, if you will. From a height weight standpoint, he's basically the same guy as Edgerrin Cooper. Some odd stuff though. Really small hands at 8th percentile hands. I think grip strength might be an issue with his tackling, which, I mean, that doesn't seem fixable. You're not going to be able to make his hands any bigger, so that's a little bit concerning. But ran an acceptable 4.68 40 at the combine. The Packers, or maybe this was at his pro day, I'm not 100% sure, but Green Bay said they had him in the 4.5s. That's fine. Very poor agility scores, but very, very good explosives, including the broad jump, which Green Bay loves. And if their plan, and it seems like it is, and this is, of course, when we talk about moving forward, if their plan is to install him as a Mike, and maybe take him off the field on in base and play both Quay and Edgerrin Cooper outside, and have the Mike be the guy who doesn't wear the green dot, which is fine. You can give it to Quay, you can give it to Edge Cooper, or maybe even more likely give it to Xavier McKinney. You can move guys around, and Hopper can be the guy that comes off in base, even if he is playing the Mike position. He can be the guy that comes off when they play nickel. It was interesting to me that they played Quay on the weak side and played Hopper in the middle in rookie camp. The reason I say that is because I think it came out a little bit from Green Bay that once they switched to Jeff Hafley, that they saw Quay Walker as a will in the new defense. I don't think anybody expects Edgerrin Cooper as the 45th overall pick and the top linebacker taken in the draft to play any type of a reserve role. He's going to be on the field. So they're obviously not going to play the exact same position. Are they going to move Quay to Sam? Are they going to try Quay at the Mike because he has Mike size? Those are interesting, proposals. Hopper, again, interesting, is that they also started Hopper at Mike. Interesting to me. So if your plan is to have McDuffie with all of his experience back up all 3 interior spots, and I don't know that it is, I think there's a decent chance that McDuffie beats out Hopper for the third spot. But when they're in nickel, I think it's going to be Adrian Cooper and Quay Walker. Period. I really do believe that to be the case. But starting Hopper as a Mike, and then when you watch his film, that stuff is interesting to me. Why that's interesting to me, or why I think they've sort of started him at the Mike, is when he does make a tackle, that stopping power stuff that Brian Gutekunst is talking about is real. And let's just and if you on this channel you listen to Andy, you've probably seen the now infamous Tyron Hopper discussion, his deal on Hopper. His deep dive was not, and like I said, I think we have to be that way. Like Andy and I have to say when we don't like stuff, or when we say we do like stuff, it should have, and does have, in my opinion, almost no value. If we just go out there and say everything's great, Brian's perfect, Matt's awesome, Jordan Love's never going to lose another game, every guy they drafted is going to be a Hall of Famer, it should be really easy to call BS on that. And so when we talk about when he actually does make a tackle, he had a 17% career missed tackle rate and a truly spectacular, and I think college football leading, missed tackle rate of 22.7% last year in 2023. Now that was down to 17% in 2022, which was by far his best year as a collegian. But guys, a 17% missed tackle rate is no bueno. It's not good. It's not. And especially if you're, going to have this guy play Mike linebacker for you. If I polled the average fan, like if I walked around the tailgate lot before a Packer game and I said, hey, what position is it most important to be able to tackle? And if they knew I was asking, because people might just say linebacker, but if I, said no specifically, people would say Mike. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's true. It's probably true. Certainly in the conversation. And he can't tackle, or doesn't tackle yet, I guess, is the more, the better thing to say. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to say anything other than these tackling numbers are atrocious, and that's on the film too. With all of that said, he is the most Mike of their linebackers that I've seen, in that he is not afraid of contact. And I'm not saying the other guys are, but Quay is a run and chase linebacker. Adrian Cooper's a downhill guy, but he also is trying to beat an offensive lineman, or beat a blocker to a spot, more than he's trying to go through your chest. Tyron Hopper will go through your face mask. Sometimes that won't go that well for him. Like I've seen on film plenty of times where he, tries to go through a pulling guard's chest, and oh crap, I am 229 or whatever he weighs. This guy has 70 pounds on me, and this is not going that well. But I've also seen him bend back a pulling guard right into the running back. I've seen him bend back a tight end. He will run through your face. I think he's probably a little bit better getting, folks lined up. I think from just an awareness and an instincts standpoint, I would probably rate him higher than both Quay and Edge Cooper. So it's fine that they started him inside, especially when, again, that interchangeability. We just did the Javon Bullard episode. That interchangeability word gets thrown around. I think there is some serious interchangeability with the guys they have. You start looking at heights, weights, and speeds, especially if you are going to give Hopper credit for being able to run that 4.5 number that the Packers had at his pro day. Well, then they all can run. I can't remember if McDuffie can run, but Quay can run, Edge can run, Hopper can run. They're all in the realm, except Quay happens to be huge, which is probably why they spent a first-round pick on him. Quay moves like the linebacker of today, but he is sort of the size of the linebacker of yesterday, because he can run like a safety. I mean, Quay moves like a defensive back on paper. If you're talking about just like his actual athletic testing, he is a freak of nature. These other guys are more kind of the standard modern linebacker that's athletic, explosive, fast, 6'2", 230. Not no longer 6'4", 250. That time has maybe passed us. But from a skill perspective, that's the scary thing for Hop. If he doesn't figure out how to tackle, they aren't going to be able to use him on defense. And if they aren't going to be able to use him on defense, then they just took a special teamer with tackling issues at 91 or 92 or whenever they took him. That's the scary part. Now, if he gets that fixed and he's the player he was in 2022, which, by the way, the Packers have made hay doing that. Jordan Love was much better his second to last college season than his last. Dontavion Wicks was that way. Jaden Reed was that way. I think both Kraft and Musgrave had more receiving yards their second to last season than their last. That's sort of a market inefficiency, I think, that Green Bay has identified in the draft. Let's really take the last 3 years of this guy's college career into equal consideration as opposed to the most recent stuff that we've seen. And it's worked out great. I mean, all those guys I think that I've mentioned, I think you would call those success stories. And if Hopper, elite pass rush grade in 2022, very, very good coverage grade in 2022 from a PFF college standpoint, I think he can be a decent player if he gets the tackling stuff figured out. If it's just, hey, we want you to be our third most important linebacker. Whatever what that means from a Mike, Sam, Will perspective is less important because we view you guys as interchangeable. So if you're the backup at both spots when we're talking about spots in nickel, that's cool. And you're the third linebacker in base. And if that means we line you up at Mike, that's fine. Now, again, I would not spend a top 100 pick on that. I would not do that. I would go where they took Blake Martinez. I would go where they took Jake Ryan. I might even go where they took Isaiah McDuffie. We're talking about we want you to be our third most important linebacker. Where we line you up, Mike, Sam, Will is not that important because one of you is coming off the field when we go nickel. We're going to be primarily in nickel, and you're going to be that guy that comes off the field in nickel. But if somebody gets hurt, you need to be able to play either of the two primary spots in nickel. We'll bring somebody else in base. I do feel like, though, Tyron has to hit his 70th, 80th, 90th percentile outcome, meaning this has to work. This has to go well. He has to take to coaching. He has to wrap up. He has to tackle. He's got to get guys on the ground. Because the rest of it, I mean, you've seen the good in what he did in 2022. He is a capable athlete. Is he as agile as you like? No, but he's explosive. And so if he's going to play Mike, if he's going to bang heads, him being explosive and fast, would you like him to, be better than a 7.33 cone? Yeah. Would you like him to be better than a 4.46 shuttle? Yeah. But if he's going downhill, which is the word that everybody uses for this defense, downhill, 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 it could be fine. It could be fine. Unfortunately, over the last 4 years, I'm not saying this, to pat myself on the back. Most of the picks I didn't like have not turned out well. The obvious total exception, before you even say it in the comments, is Jordan Love, and that was really important. That was really important for this franchise that worked out. But a lot of the other ones where I was like, I don't love that one. I've been proven wrong a ton. And just in general, a lot of the times that Goody has gone away from either what they do, taking athletes that aren't real good athletes like Amari Rodgers or Jay Sternberger, or even just going kind of crazy on, some against consensus stuff like Josiah DeGuara. Even most people had a late 2 on Eric Stokes. A lot of people did not believe Quay should have been a first rounder. A lot of that stuff hasn't gone Brian's way yet. This could be a change. I could be wrong. Consensus could be wrong. Consensus did not view Tyron Hopper as this either. But looking forward, if it does work out, I think you get a core special teamer. I think you get maybe a Mike or at least an interchangeable guy. You get someone who can, be on the field in base and back up the two guys if anything were to happen to the two guys that you have in nickel. And that has value. Does it have the value of a top 100 pick? Not to me, but I'm not Brian. Brian can do whatever the hell he wants. mean, after his last two draft classes, and the fact that looking back on 2020, he nailed the Jordan Love pick. Brian can do what he wants. All right, guys. Thank you for watching or listening if you are on the or listening if you are on the podcast side. Check us out over at Packer Report, or follow me over on Twitter, formerly Twitter, currently known as X. That's the first time I think I've butchered that to that degree. But other than that, do everything you're supposed to do here on the Pack a Day Podcast YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, click the bell, and get the notifications so that you can get every ounce of Packers content that you require. Have a great day, guys. Go Pack, go.